The following is a pre-recorded show. Welcome to Winning in Retirement with your host, Brian Akers, certified financial planner professional and founder of Akers Financial Group. Now, helping you win in your retirement, here's Brian Akers.
Hello, I'm Brian Akers from Akers Financial Group. I'm a certified financial planner practitioner. I'm working right here in Maryland. I have offices in Lutherville and Forest Hill. We have clients all around Maryland, all around the country, and a few around the world. We enjoy working with our clients and providing financial planning advice and implementing that advice through our licenses as stockbrokers and investment advisor representatives and life and health insurance agents. So Akers Financial Group, we do a lot of things for our clients, and this show is built around that and around the concepts that we have employed over 30 years throughout my career. So at Akers Financial Group, we really try to start with financial planning and end with financial planning. What I mean by that is financial planning is what we have to do to make any and all wise decisions. So what I'm trying to say here is this. If you want to make wise decisions and have things planned for throughout the good times and the bad times of your life, you need to do proper planning. And so today's show, what I've been putting together for today, it's going to be called Pre-Planning Your Memorial. Yes, it's Memorial Day weekend, and we take a time and a moment to think about all those that have been lost serving our country. Everybody knows Memorial Day actually first started back in 1868 on May 30th that year for all the people that passed away or died and got killed during the Civil War at that time. They used to call it Decoration Day. That's where you go and put flags and flowers on the gravestones. I know that's being done all over the place this weekend, and it's a wonderful way to honor the people who have passed away due to being a casualty of war. So we thank you, those families, every one of them. But memorial is what I want to try to take. Is that word, the memory, the legacy, the long-term effect of someone passing away. And we want to work on something called pre-planning your memorial, or other ways you might say it is pre-planning your own funeral. Now, financial planning at Akers Financial Group, well, we have a website, akersfinancialgroup.com. On that website, you can go to our documents. You can check out a little bit more about how to get started with a unique financial fingerprint. What we do is we take a look at where people are now, and we call that your unique financial fingerprint. That means, where are you financially? Where are you when it comes to your debt? Where is it with your savings, your investments, your assets, your estate planning? Have you pre-planned your funeral? Do you have beneficiaries? There's a lot of information, a lot of questions we ask as we get started when we meet with a new client. Now, that unique financial fingerprint, it's based on the concept that every fingerprint is different. It's unique. Just like snowflakes and fingerprints are unique, we think the financial fingerprint's different. Everyone has a little different scenario. Some people have debt, some people don't. Some have income that's going to come and last a lifetime, pensions, things like that. Others have to create it from the investments they have. Some people are great savers, some are not. So building a financial plan that helps people is an extremely important thing to help reach that person's actual goals. And we always start with where people are. At Akers Financial Group, we work through a group out of Georgia called Kalos Capital and Kalos Wealth Management. That group helps us provide and implement the plans that we work with. These financial plans, we sometimes charge planning fees for the plan. Sometimes we take the plan and implement it, and we can charge a fee or a commission depending on what's needed for that client. We let the plan drive the result of what we need to do. And that's a very important process of planning and then implementing what the plan says to do. And that's exactly the process we try to go through. Now, one of the concepts that I think is very important is that when you think about planning, we have to talk about things that you don't want to talk about. Taxes is one. Death is another one. And what happens is this. If we can do all of our planning as if we might die tomorrow, then we'll have all of our legal documents in place, everything handled, the titling and beneficiaries, the wills or trusts, power of attorney, healthcare and advance directive, have a lot of those documents in place. That'll then allow you to live your life, to enjoy your retirement years, to be winning in retirement where you're not worried about things that you should have done or basically things you haven't done yet. Most people listening probably haven't done those proper estate planning. and even more have not done pre-planning of the actual funeral. And what we're going to talk about today is that financial planning leads us to further implementation of topics. And one of those topics today is how to benefit your family by making decisions for your own funeral ahead of time. Yes, you actually can do this. And what we're going to do in the second quarter is invite Casey Lynch. He works with Evans Funeral Chapel, and he'll come on and try to explain pre-planning and how it works with their funeral home and help you understand why it's important for you and your family to have some things decided. What I believe is that if you can pre-plan, that means you have basically you plan the funeral out, you purchase where you're going to be buried or not buried. You purchase the opening, the closing of the graves, all kinds of things that need to be thought through. And one of the things that's happened with Evans is that they've put together a booklet. And that booklet is called the Pre-Planning and Bereavement Guide. At Akers Financial Group, we have a bunch of these to be able to send out to you. All you have to do is you go to our website at akersfinancialgroup.com. That's AkersFinancial Group, GROUP, I think, .com. At akersfinancialgroup.com, you scroll down to the section where you can schedule a meeting. In that section, you can also request this pre-planning guide. The reason you want a pre-planning guide is you want to put your thoughts together and organize what you like to do, and then you want to set up that free meeting with the actual funeral planner. And Casey Lynch is one of them, and he'll be on the show here in the second quarter. So that pre-planning is where you're going to think about what do you want to see happening. Some people say, I do not want a funeral. I just want them to have a celebration of life. I want my body to be cremated immediately, and that's it. Other people have other versions of they want their body buried in the ground in a family burial site, maybe in a different state. Maybe the client has relocated to another state to retire, but their burial sites are maybe still here in Maryland. And so they need to have that planned out. Is that where they want to have their final resting place to be? Lots of decisions that can be changed, of course. But if you're doing retirement planning and you're in those retirement years, I think it's a great thing to consider that you need to do this. The other reason that I bring this up when we talk about retirement planning is that my clients, as they're retiring, you have to think about what else is going on in their life. Well, typically at retirement, your kids are hopefully out of the house and they're creating their own way and maybe even giving some grandchildren. And then you have your parents, with them possibly still being alive. They might need more and more of your help now that your kids don't. And those parents might need you to make sure that they are handled well with their finances. What I mean by that is that all their issues, all their thoughts, all their wishes are handled and written out so that whatever they decide will be what happens upon a death. What we're talking about is, let's say your parents, both of them are alive, and you can take them to a pre-planning meeting and they can talk with the funeral planner and they can work through how they want the service to go. Pick out the music, pick out who's talking, pick out who's invited, get addresses, sort of really build a network and information. And that's all important. That's what we're going to talk about in the second quarter with Casey Lynch about the pre-planning the funeral, which I think is a very important thing to do. At Akers Financial Group, when I meet with clients and they have a situation such as a parent that is heading into a nursing home or hospice or possibly been diagnosed with a terminal type disease, we bring up pre-planning because we want to have that kind of information all put together ahead of time. Because if someone passes suddenly, and if you ever experienced that, it's a tough thing, very tough. There's grieving, which is hard to do. But then if there's a lot of work to do, like trying to organize a funeral and make all the decisions, and then you have to worry about how to pay for that event through cash in the bank, or you have to give the funeral home your life insurance policy for them to cash it in to pay the bill. It's really great for you to think about your family and to give them a gift. Almost like your last gift is that you've taken that headache away and you thought about planning for them to know what your wishes are. So when family is able to see this, that could help them basically have the ability to grieve, and they would not have to make decisions. This is a gift that's very important. It's for you, it's for your family, and it's for everyone that's in your life. I think that's something to consider. So financial planning, investments, those are exciting and fun, and that's what it's good to talk about those. And when the markets are diving down and up and down and volatile, we want to talk and figure out, should we buy, should we invest? I believe in proper balance. I believe in buying when things are down. I believe in planning long term. In our plan, we need to have everything covered. And Memorial Day weekend gives us the thoughts, the thinking about what has been going on in our country. Now, they started Memorial Day in 1868, so it's been, 154 years of basically celebrating and honoring those that have died in service with our country. That memorial that we take time and think about them is very, very important. That's a legacy. And that's the kind of thing I want you to think about is, what is your legacy? What do you want your legacy to be? And how do you want that final moments, those final things planned out? And that's something that you can pre-plan for. And it's very important to take time and think about it. So it doesn't have to be too hard. It doesn't have to be too intimidating. We don't have to be morbid about it. But we can take some time and maybe even take some money and do the actual purchasing of a prepaid plan. Easy for me to say, right? If you go ahead and purchase that, what happens is you can prepay and lock in the future costs by buying it even today, which is a very good thing when you think about inflation on everything right now, is to go ahead and plan that kind of issue. Now, in Winning Retirement, we want you prepared for retirement, because the best part of retirement is when you get your time back, where you get to decide how to use it. Because in retirement, your time's not tied up by anybody else anymore. No other commitments, like your job. A lot of that goes away at retirement, and then what you can do is be consumed by things you want to do. And of course, when you're thinking about pre-planning, that's probably not what you want to do, but if you get it done, it's done. That'd be a wonderful thing to do in planning. So it's so easy to do planning with Akers Financial Group. All you got to do is go to our website at akersfinancialgroup.com, scroll down to the schedule a meeting section, and let us know you'd like to schedule your free consultation with one of their team of advisors. That's akersfinancialgroup.com. Or you can give us a call at 833-WIN-RETIRE. That's 833-WINRETIRE. We will call you on Monday to schedule a free in-person or Zoom meeting. So go ahead to akersfinancialgroup.com or give us a call at 833-946-7384 to start planning for your retirement now. Have you ever thought about pre-planning your funeral? When we come back, I'm going to have an expert. I'm a friend of the show. I'm Casey Lynch, who does this stuff every day. We'll talk about that in 2 minutes.
You're listening to a pre-recorded show. Welcome back to Winning in Retirement. Call 833-WIN-RETIRE now to schedule a visit with Brian and his team and begin winning in retirement. Once again, here's Brian Akers.
Welcome back to Winning in Retirement. I am Brian Akers, President and founder of Akers Financial Group. And here with me today is Casey Lynch from Evans Funeral Chapel. And we have our topic of talking about pre-planning your memorial. Yes, it's Memorial Day weekend, but we thought we'd bring in Casey Lynch and get to know him and also talk about this very, very important topic. All right, Casey, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. So Casey Lynch, you've been with Evans Funeral Chapel. Is that the full name of the company?
It is Evans Funeral Chapel and Cremation Services, and we also go by Evans Life Celebration Home.
Okay. And locations are Forest Hill, I think Parkville, and third one is Towson?
Third one's in the Moncton area.
In Moncton, further north, okay.
Correct. And we also have a fourth location coming to the White Marsh area.
The White Marsh area, okay. Now, Evans Funeral Home, what do you guys do?
We are a full-service funeral home. In addition to the funeral home locations, we also own and operate a crematory. So we do very traditional funeral services that people are used to. And we also do several cremation services. And really, anything that people wish is kind of something that we try to accommodate.
Yeah, so you've been sponsoring our show, your company, the Evans Funeral Chapel. You've been sponsoring our show since we started it, so we really appreciate that. And we really appreciate the work you've done for our clients and their families, because what you guys provide has been an incredible service to them, even my own family, of course. But what I wanted to try to cover today for everyone listening is that pre-planning your memorial is extremely important. It's a true gift to your family and friends when you take time and plan ahead and write it all down. And so what we want to talk about today is exactly that, and talk about what is it and try to break it down and go from there. So pre-planning, what is that about?
So pre-planning is something that I specifically help families with at the funeral home.
Sure.
I'm meeting with people who either are planning for themselves, generally so that their families and loved ones don't have the burden of doing so down the road at a more difficult time.
Absolutely a more difficult time, because it's someone suddenly dies, then they got to call the funeral home, have an appointment, and then they come in with no planning. How long is that kind of meeting?
Right. And generally there's a lot of unknowns when that happens.
Yeah, it's got to be a lot of unknowns.
Definitely. And we see that every day. So particularly, this isn't a conversation that people like to have about what their funeral wishes are. So oftentimes when a death does occur and you haven't talked to your family about that, we see that the family's kind of in limbo, maybe a little uncertain as to what the wishes of the person who passed away are.
Absolutely.
So we encourage people to kind of grab the bull by the horns and take the initiative to do that for themselves. And
that's pre-planning.
Absolutely.
And you guys have a booklet, a pre-planning booklet. That's one of our things we're offering today. If you contact Akers Financial Group, you just give us a call. We can get this booklet out to you. It's a booklet put on by Evans Funeral Chapel.
Absolutely. And it has a lot of very good information in there. It's really helpful. It serves as kind of a framework to planning funeral services.
Sure.
Kind of highlights the information that we gather about people. And maybe, if you read over it, it'll maybe give you some things to think about in terms of what you'd like done for your services.
All right. So imagine you and I are having that pre-planning talk. What are some of the main, just beginning topics when someone comes in to talk to you about this?
Sure. So I always like to kind of ask what it is that brought people to us in terms of, are you planning for yourself or are you planning for a family member?
Sure.
What are the circumstances? We do meet with a lot of family members who are planning for someone who's in long-term care.
Sure, because they're closer to death. They see that these are one of the things that need to be done.
Right. Absolutely.
And that means the person put it off during their lifetime. And now it's some almost like a hurry up. Let's get this done at the end of life type thing.
Absolutely, yeah. We see a lot of sense of urgency at that point in time, but it never hurts to do things ahead of time. There's always benefits to doing so. So we always encourage people to do that. But it's really very simple. We just gather a little information about the person that we're doing the planning for.
Sure.
Kind of find out what the desires are for the funeral service. And then that kind of helps me to point you in the right direction as to what costs would be involved so that I can make the family aware of that.
Sure.
And that they can best put a plan in place to cover funeral costs, both our costs at the funeral home and then anything outside of the funeral home, like cemeteries or churches or florists, anything of that nature. We try to be as thorough as possible.
What's been happening in America is people are located all around different states. There's a lot of things going on. And so by pre-planning, you make the family focus on getting there and being there together for the grieving time, but not have to do all of this gathering of information and paying the bills and figuring out what's going on. What happens is you can decide what you want at the funeral, who does what, who speaks, how they talk. Is it who they invite? You could even do something like that too?
We occasionally get that as well, yeah. So some people are very detail-oriented.
Music.
Some people come to us and know what clothing they'd like to be laid out in.
Okay.
What flowers they'd like. So those are all great details that we write down because ultimately when the time comes, the notes that we have at the funeral home in our files kind of serve as your voice if you've planned for yourself. So it kind of helps us to reiterate to your family what your wishes were.
So this is not morbid. This is actually a love gift to your family in the fact that you've thought about them and you thought about what you like planned, and then it can happen the way it should happen. Now, there's a lot of huge decisions. The idea of your body being buried in a casket, a certain type of casket. There's the idea of, no, I just want a cremation and I want something else done. There's lots of choices.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Can you cover a couple of the choices when it comes to all this?
Sure. You've kind of hit on the two we see most often.
Sure.
The biggest decision generally is being buried at a cemetery in a traditional manner versus being cremated.
Sure.
We are seeing a lot more in terms of people who wish to be cremated.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons that we have a crematory on site at the funeral home.
Does that cause a cost or any other idea?
I'm sorry, does it cause a...
Is it because of the lower cost for cremation?
I always attribute it sometimes to that, but also to the convenience factor of it. With just what you said, a lot of families are kind of spread out geographically all over the United States. Sure. Burials are somewhat traditional in that you do a gathering or maybe a service at a church and the burial occurs pretty timely. Cremation can...
Absolutely. And I guess during the last couple of years of COVID, you'd have to think that a lot of things haven't happened quickly. And so cremation allows for that to be postponed a little bit for such as a celebration day, things like that. Exactly.
Yeah, there's a lot of flexibility with that. And I think that that's kind of helped families to come to that decision.
Yeah, those are hard. I've had to plan 3 during my lifetime for people who passed away suddenly. And those were all not pre-planned. Then we sat down and had to decide all these things at one time and had to organize and do a lot of work there. And that's why I know that it's extremely important to have this done. If I had to say a certain time of their life, when should people go? Have you thought about a certain age when people buy or do pre-planning?
Sure. I meet people, I would say, generally like in their late 50s all the way up to people that are in their 90s that are still in good health.
Sure.
The nice thing is in all the years I've worked at the funeral home, that we definitely see that people are living a lot longer and still have a good quality of life.
Excellent.
Which is good to see, of course. So there's really not a right or wrong time. Some people just want to do it because it's peace of mind for them. And then I meet others who certainly say, I'm in my 80s or 90s and I kind of think it's just time. So, yeah.
I know in financial planning what happens is we have someone in a nursing care, hospice care, and we're trying to spend the money on things that are needed so that we would qualify for like Medicaid help. And prepaying a funeral counts as an expense under that kind of category when you're trying to get money spent down for Medicaid. And so in that case, we strongly try to have the family pre-planned at that time and try to organize as quickly as it can.
Right. We see that a lot at the funeral home where, we do have a lot of people who are coming in and planning for someone who is in long-term care and needs to qualify for Medicaid. And just like you said, your funeral is allowable for that, your prepaid funeral.
Yeah.
So even people who are not in that situation, or who are kind of coming in the early stages of life and planning for themselves, that's something I always try to mention to them that if they do choose to prepay for this, down the road, if that person, if you do ever need to apply for Medicaid, your funeral is allowable. So, it's a good thing to do.
I got a couple of tough questions for you.
Okay.
When people think about giving a funeral home all the money ahead of time, is this a good idea? Is it a scam? Is it something that they can count on and rely on? What's your opinion of that?
Sure. That's a question that we get asked quite often at the funeral home is, of course, if I pay for this, where does my money go? And how am I assured that it'll be there? And that makes perfect sense to me. So our funeral home's been around for over 150 years, so we're very safe.
I forgot to ask that, yeah.
But that's, of course, just word, and people want a little more security than that. Fortunately, in the state of Maryland, there's a lot of layers of protection for funeral consumers.
Sure.
The biggest one being that we are required to put the money into a third party.
Okay.
We cannot hold prepayment money directly at the funeral home. We deal with a funeral insurer.
Okay.
They basically open a funeral policy in the person's name that we're doing the planning for, which is part of the law in Maryland. And that's just an added layer of protection that if something were to happen to the funeral home, that money's safe in a third party.
Wow, this second quarter has gone quickly with the talk here with Casey Lynch from Evans Funeral Chapel about pre-planning your memorial or your funeral, That kind of topic is extremely important because as we retire, we get so excited about the retirement years, but we need to plan about a lot of things. We need to plan about the possibility of passing away. They say death and taxes are things are going to happen. We need to do financial planning for all aspects of our life and including our death. So at Akers Financial Group, we strongly believe in pre-planning. What we'd like you to do is give Akers Financial Group to start planning your retirement and find out more about the pre-planning booklet that we have from Casey Lynch. Just go ahead and give us a call at 833-WIN-RETIRE. That's 833-WIN-RETIRE. We'll give you a call back on Monday to schedule a free in-person or Zoom meeting with one of our team of advisors. So go ahead and call AkersFinancialGroup.com. That's AkersFinancialGroup.com. Or you can give us a call at 833-946-7384 to start planning for your retirement now. Veteran benefits you need to know about coming up in a few minutes.
You're listening to a pre-recorded show. Welcome back to Winning in Retirement. Call 833-WIN-RETIRE now to schedule a visit with Brian and his team and begin winning in retirement. Once again, here's Brian Akers.
Welcome back to Winning in Retirement. I'm Brian Akers from Akers Financial Group, a certified financial planner, practitioner. I'm president and founder of Akers Financial Group right here in Maryland. We work with people all over the state and all over the country, and even a few clients around the world. Today we have a special show where we're taking the topic of pre-planning your memorial, and we brought in one of our sponsors, for a longtime sponsor, and one of our friends, and someone who's done a lot of work with our clients, even with our families, doing pre-planning. As we ended the second quarter, we were talking about pre-planning and about the security of paying ahead that you guys have for the money that people pay for the funeral costs. Can we talk a little bit more about that, Casey, as we start here in the second half?
Absolutely.
Now, did you ever play sports in high school?
Oh, definitely. I still do. I still play soccer regularly.
All right. What kind of halftime guy are you? Are you an oranges, drink a lot of Gatorade? What kind of halftime do you do?
I'm pretty much just water and get back to it. Let's get started.
Yeah, the halftimes are too long for you, right?
I agree.
All right. So we had our halftime talk, but we're focused here. We're ready to go here in the third quarter. All right. So when people are come in, they meet with you about planning their funeral and the services. It involves a lot of different things. It involves the funeral home, even the burial site, or where if you're cremated, where you put your ashes, right?
Absolutely.
Now, in that prepaying it, you're actually paying that money ahead of time. Now, you mentioned that the money's in the third party. Is it an insurance policy? Is it in a bank account? What kind of thing is it?
So we use an actual funeral insurer. So it is a life insurance policy.
Okay.
Some funeral homes, you are allowed to do a bank account. Sure. In Maryland. The downside of that is there's still tax consequences.
Okay.
Whenever, the money's being held in a bank as opposed to a funeral insurer.
Tax on any interest earned. You get a 1099.
Exactly.
On the life insurance, is there any insurability? It's because you're putting in dollar for dollar, there's no insurability. Like you don't have to be healthy to get it.
You don't. They'll accept anyone. It's just basically what we use to hold the funds.
Sure.
So there's not really any health exam required or anything of that nature, like some private life insurance policies.
All right. So let's say we're getting ready to retire and we want to plan everything. We want to get it all done. We want to plan as if we might die tomorrow. And so part of that is wills and power of attorney and everything like that. And then we want to do the pre-planning also. Just get that done also. But they're 62, 65 years old. Is there a price guarantee in pre-planning?
There is a price guarantee in pre-planning. So basically what we do is sit down, and once we figure out what it is that you desire for your funeral service, I can give you the cost as though we were doing that funeral today.
Sure.
And the National Funeral Directors Association says that funerals go up by about 5% annually nationwide here. So what we're doing is we're locking in today's cost, even though we may not do your funeral for 5, 10, or 20 plus years.
Right.
So you're basically paying today's cost for something that we would provide to you in the future.
Right. So at 5%, it's roughly like 14, 15 years would completely double.
Absolutely.
And inflation's all around us. It's got to be inflation in your guys' department also.
There is.
Now, the pre-planning, people are coming in, they're talking with you, they're filling out this paperwork. That's a booklet that you guys have put together, which is excellent. And that's one of the things we're asking people, if you want this booklet, it's a pre-planning and bereavement guide by Evans Funeral Chapel and Cremation Services. We have a bunch of these at the office at Akers Financial Group. If you give us a call at 833-946-7384 or go to our website, akersfinancialgroup.com, scroll down and go ahead and enter your information and that you'd like to receive this pre-planning and bereavement guide. You can actually begin to look at the information and then schedule a time with you to go through the concepts and what should happen. That first meeting with you, do you charge for that? How does that work?
There's no fee to pre-plan funeral services. So That's something we always try to stress to people. You don't necessarily have to walk in the door ready to pay for your funeral and with a financial plan in place.
Okay.
It doesn't cost a dime just to sit down and have your questions answered and get some information. Funding the funeral is just part of planning ahead. So we always encourage people, even if you're not ready to do so in terms of paying today, just go ahead and make an appointment and at least get some information.
That paying for it can be done in a lump sum, of course, but can it be done more monthly or once a year type thing also?
Yes, there's options to pay monthly, quarterly, annually, however you wish. What we do is we give your total funeral amount to our funeral insurer.
Sure.
And then they will give us some cost options for you.
Sure.
And we'll go over that with you. One of the benefits of that is that because that money is being held through an insurer, there's coverage built in there where if your death occurs as you're making those monthly payments, rather than your family being burdened with the balance of the funeral bill unexpectedly, the funeral insurance product may pay off the balance of your funeral. So some people really like that benefit.
Yeah, absolutely. So Evans Funeral Home is Charlie Evans. Is he's the current owner?
He is. He's the owner. He has family that works there as well. His children are funeral directors as well.
Okay. Are they the fifth generation?
They would be the fifth generation.
That's a fifth generation of the Evans family since the 1800s?
Correct.
Oh, wow. So that's an amazing legacy you guys have there. And I believe that pre-planning is a great legacy that each and every one of us can do for our family by go ahead and doing the major decisions that have to happen for that funeral time that might happen in our future. Or I guess no might about it. It happens, right? So let me ask some logistic questions on funerals. Typically, if someone passes away, funerals that week, 3 or 4 days. What's like the minimum amount of time funeral homes need?
So things have kind of changed a little bit.
Sure.
I've seen over the years, and people seem to be waiting a little bit longer to get the funeral services started. It used to be where someone would pass away, and as soon as the following day, we would start a visitation or service of some sort. And I think people are just more spread out, and people have a lot more commitments professionally and in their families. So it's not uncommon that we have to wait a few days, and we're certainly accommodating at that.
That's excellent. The one of the things that we've had you actually speak on at our expo that we have each summer, we actually have you talk on veterans benefits and things veterans don't know that they should know about the funeral and other events. Do you mind mentioning some things veterans really need to know when it comes to this?
Sure. There are a lot of benefits for veterans and for their spouses particularly that we find oftentimes don't get taken advantage of because people simply aren't aware of those benefits. The biggest one that we see is that any honorably discharged veteran is entitled to space at any of the veteran cemeteries here in the state of Maryland, and there's no cost for that.
Okay.
So these veteran cemeteries are providing grave space, grave opening fees, markers, and a grave liner for a casket if needed. And they will also bury cremated remains with the same regard as they would a casket burial. And there's no cost whatsoever to the veteran.
Okay. I know that the funeral home there, you also collect clothes for veterans who need clothes to be buried in.
We do. We have a lot of benefits on the funeral side. The VA doesn't really provide anything towards funeral costs.
Sure.
But we do have a program at our funeral home where we do discounted funeral services for veterans on the prepayment side. So that's something that we do offer to anyone who is a veteran or to the spouse of a veteran, is a discount on prepaid funeral services as well.
Right. I think those are big deals, especially when there's the honor of the veterans. It's pretty amazing to see.
Absolutely. And it is nice that those benefits are out there and available. So we just want to make sure that people are taking advantage of them because it can be a great savings to the family.
Yeah, it is. It's something you need to know about, especially when you're thinking about things. I found that when people are beginning to retire, typically they're sort of sandwiched between their older parents and their kids growing up and grandkids popping out. There's a lot of things going on in life. And one of the things with working with their parents is, well, what do we need to do? And my response is, have they done pre-planning? So pre-planning is advice that we give for anyone in their retirement years to have the time, take the time to think about it.
Right. And we always say the same thing about the funeral home. People plan for all kinds of events in life, particularly retirement. Mm-hmm. It's easy to put off the funeral side of things because it's not ideally as enjoyable as retirement.
Don't want to talk about it.
Nobody does, but there's a lot of peace of mind once you do it and once you know that it's covered, that you're not leaving any responsibilities to your next of kin, to your loved ones.
Yeah, it's extremely important to take care of your family with this gift of love, I think, when you take time to plan ahead, writing it all out, deciding where you're going to be buried, such as what state you're going to be buried. That's very good. If you have a more complex family, like second or third marriage, there's lots of decisions to be made there. It's better to have it all in writing.
Definitely. We see that more and more, too, with second marriages and blended families, and that can always add an extra layer of decision-making for people. So it's definitely a good thing to take that off everyone's plate.
All right. So this guide, the Pre-Planning and Bereavement Guide, it's something that people can look through. Inside of here is explanations of what it is, and then it starts to help you gather information. So it's almost like a financial planning guide for us. This is doing the pre-planning guide for you. Does someone have to have this filled out when they come see you the first time?
Not necessarily. I always tell people if you'd like to fill it out, that's fine. But otherwise, that's kind of what we do when we sit down with you, is just gather the information in there. But some people like to glance over it prior to or after meeting with us, just to see if there's anything that maybe didn't cross their mind that booklet does have that would be helpful to them.
Yeah, I guess knowing the options that are out there is always important to be able to make a decision when it comes to this kind of planning. Well, Casey, we thank you very much for being on the show today to talk about pre-planning funerals, and I'm also bringing up the idea about veterans and the benefits your company provides.
Very good. Well, thank you for the time and the opportunity.
No problem. I appreciate that. Now, for all those listeners out there, we all want retirement to be this perfect place where we have no stress. I do believe part of that no stress is through thorough financial planning and, of course, estate planning and what we're talking about today, pre-planning. All is involved in making sure that your retirement is more stress-free. Now, at Akers Financial Group, our team of advisors are ready, willing, and able to sit down with you for that free initial meeting. That free initial meeting is where we get to know each other and we can talk about your exact situation. To meet with one of the team of advisors, you go ahead and give us a call at 833-WIN-RETIRE. That's 833-WIN-RETIRE. We'll call you on Monday to schedule a free in-person or Zoom meeting. Go to AkersFinancialGroup.com or give us a call at 833-946-7384 to start planning for your retirement now. Real-life examples of pre-planning and not planning at all coming up in the fourth quarter in just 2 minutes.
You're listening to a pre-recorded show. Welcome back to Winning in Retirement. Call 833-WIN-RETIRE now to schedule a visit with Brian and his team and begin winning in retirement. Once again, here's Brian Akers.
Welcome back to the fourth quarter of Winning in Retirement. I'm your host, Brian Akers, certified financial planner practitioner from Akers Financial Group, located right here in Maryland. Offices in Lutherville and Forest-Hill. And we're here today to finish up the radio show. And guess what? It's only me here in the fourth quarter. So I really want to talk to you about why it's so important to do planning when it comes to thinking about passing away. It really matters to your family that you take the time and plan the things that are going to happen towards the end of your life. Now, this involves many, many aspects. Today's show, if you've been listening the whole time to Winning in Retirement, has been about pre-planning your memorial, pre-planning your funeral, organizing the thoughts, the time, everything about it. And we had a special guest, Casey Lynch from Evans Funeral Chapel, come in, and we talked about the basics of that. But what I want to do as a financial planner is try to explain to you how it all works when it comes to making this decision. Because what happens is this. I've been doing financial planning since 1987, so that's about 35 years now. And I want my clients to be prepared for everything. One of my sayings that I use is this, is if we plan like we might die tomorrow, we can then invest and live like we're going to live forever. So we want to plan as if we might die tomorrow and invest like we want to live forever. If we settle our certain major things in our financial planning, we can go enjoy our retirement years because everything else is already settled, handled, written, legally prepared for. So there isn't going to be a major surprise or a hurry up and make a quick decision. Well, that's not really what we want to do when it comes to planning, is make quick decisions. We want to make the right decision at the right time. So at Akers Financial Group, we do financial planning. We also implement those plans through investments, through insurance, and through the planning, no matter what it is. So imagine that if we're planning for as if we might die tomorrow, the first thing everybody thinks about is wills, trust, having powers of attorney, having healthcare power of attorney, having the advance directive, having it all worked out, having the titling done on your accounts, all extremely important. And we're going to build a whole show on those topics that we're going to be having here in the future. But today's topic of pre-planning the funeral is also part of that planning. It's something that we recommend that someone takes time to think about what they want to do when it comes to planning that funeral, because I've had some situations that have been, how do I say, difficult. Let me put it that way. So imagine you have a client, they are second marriage, and the husband might have their side of the family, or his side of the family with like 2 or 3 kids. The wife has a side of the family with 2 or 3 kids. And what you have is a lot of people who might want to make decisions if we don't pre-plan. So I had a couple like that, and so they did the pre-planning, had it all written out, and they made decisions on what was going to happen and when, so that the questions were never asked of the whole family. It was just done ahead of the time by the husband and wife together, where they had their wishes written down. Well, over the years, after having that as a client for 20 years, the husband passed away. And what happened was they were able to act on the husband's wishes and organize it and have the funeral based on that. Now, in the last couple of years with the COVID times and that we've been facing, funerals have not happened, and there's been celebration of life. Some of them have been postponed. A lot of things happen like that. And so what we want you to do is try to plan so that we can have something organized so that your family can put it all together to make sure they're all there together to grieve in a proper way. So imagine that if you didn't do this, what happens? And I guess in my life, I've had a few family members that have passed away, and I've had to go into the funeral home the day later with a bunch of family members, and we start talking about the person and about their wishes. Now, in one of the cases, I didn't really know their ultimate wish. I had one where I didn't know their wish because of the will they had done. They wrote down that they liked to be cremated. The other case, I didn't know. We sort of had to plan what was best, what we thought was best. And what happens is this, is when you're already grieving and you're there and you're trying to make decisions, they're going to have lots of things to offer you, a lot of things to do. And before you know it, you might overbuy. You might buy more than you really need. You might purchase things that might not be needed for a funeral, but they're all available. There's lots and lots of options. So one of the things to try to make the funeral more affordable is to be able to understand all the choices between the caskets and the ideas of how it all happens, and the flowers and the amount of flowers, who's buying the flowers, videos and live music, all kinds of decisions that happen. Having those decided really, truly helps you not spend too much when it comes to making this happen. Yes, we've seen the funeral costs in the $5,000 to $7,000 range, and we've seen them cost $17,000 to $25,000 and a little higher, depending on all that's involved when it comes to how you organize this celebration time for someone's life. So when you're thinking about retirement, and you're in your retirement years, and you say, well, what else can I do to help my family? What I'd like you to think about is this, is that it's a legacy to give a gift. The gift is, when I pass away, it's written out what my wishes are. Maybe the songs you once sung, maybe who you love to have speak at that funeral. Of course, if they're alive at the time, depending on how far you live, or how long you live, of course. So what happens is planning is a very important thing, but for the family to then know that you've done this, what I mean by that is you're going to have in your home the information all in one place. You're going to want to have in your home a place for all these kind of documents, and your executor. Normally, if there's a husband and wife, you are the executor for each other, and then there's the next person who's going to take over to be personal representative or power of attorney or executor after someone passes away. Those people need to know where these documents are. They need to know where your list of what's going on, where you keep them, where do you keep the key if it's a safe, where do you have a safety deposit box, all have their name on it, those kind of very important things so that you are prepared if you passed away. Imagine if someone passes away suddenly and they don't know where to start. I've had that situation with a client where a lady passed away suddenly. Her husband had previously died, and I guess the thing that happened was the family came to her home after she passed away, and they found the Akers Financial binder with a note says, call Brian Akers, as the answer for if anything would happen was to call her financial advisor, and then the financial advisor would guide him through all these different decisions that have to happen in this kind of situation. So imagine I got that call. I got to meet the family for the first time in person after this client passed away. And then most of those kids have all become clients over the years. I'm helping them with their beneficiary decisions that my client had pre-planned and made, written out all for them. So I don't want to be morbid about things, but what I want to do is this. I want you to understand that it's a great thing to plan ahead. It's a loving thing to plan ahead, and it should be on your list of things that you should consider doing when it comes to proper financial planning. Most people put things like this off. I'll do that later. I'll do it later. And then later comes, and it's a little too late. So when people come in to see us as brand new clients, they typically don't even have a will, let alone a pre-planned funeral. So imagine where we got to start with wills, power of attorneys. If they have a will, they don't have a power of attorney. If they have a power of attorney, it might be too old, or the will might be from 30 years ago. It's amazing how we have to start. We do have a lot of clients that are in military and police force and fire department, first responders, and we find many of them don't have wills at all. They risk their lives, and they don't have the wills and estate planning done. Yes, we recommend everyone, no matter what age, they need to have proper planning done. So the idea is this, what I said earlier is think about if you pass away tomorrow, what has to be done? You need a will. You need to have proper titling and beneficiaries for all of your accounts. You need a power of attorney while you're alive. The will takes care of after you pass away, or the trust takes care of the accounts after you pass away. You also need health care and advance directives and those kind of documents so that your wishes are made known. Pre-planning is separate from that. That is with a funeral home of your choice where you talk to them. This might be in the location where you want to be buried so that you can have your body sent there and the whole memorial of whatever celebration of life you might have all organized and written out. All very, very important. So in today's show, we met with Casey Lynch from Evans Funeral Chapel. With him, we were offering their booklet, their guide, their pre-planning and bereavement guide. So if you give us a call, what we'll do is we'll get that out to you. That guide is a good start for you to think about things as you're putting together your financial planning. Now, everyone has this unique financial fingerprint, and that's who you are, and that's where you are right now. That unique financial fingerprint is where we start in building a financial plan. And then from there, we implement these ideas so that every wish you have, every goal you have actually happens in your life. And the way you do that is giving purpose to your money, purpose to how you have things titled, so that even like estates and the flow of money to the family all goes the way you want it to. The key thing about a funeral, I think, is really taking the stress away from the family and having it all decided, written out, so there's a guide, a track to run on. So financial planning has been something I believed in ever since I just heard about it as a teenager back in the 80s. Financial planning is where you derive the answers that you need. You derive the answer of how much risk to take, what time horizon, investments, your insurance needs. It's how you plan your estate. It's how you do everything when it comes to financial decisions. So we highly recommend that you think about pre-planning for you and your family. Now, Akers Financial Group would love to have you give us a call so we can talk about your exact situation. At Akers Financial Group, we want you to win in retirement. We want you to take advantage of the opportunity to begin planning with Akers Financial Group. You can schedule a free meeting with one of our team of advisors. You can go to our website at akersfinancialgroup.com. You scroll down to a schedule a meeting section and let us know you'd like to schedule your free meeting. That's akersfinancialgroup.com. Or you can go ahead and give us a call at 833-WIN-RETIRE. That's 833-WINRETIRE. We'll give you a call back on Monday to schedule your free in-person or Zoom meeting with one of our team of advisors. Start planning for your retirement now. Go to akersfinancialgroup.com, and the website's akersfinancialgroup.com. Or give us a call at 833-946-7384. Thank you for listening. I'm Brian Akers from Akers Financial Group, and we want you to be winning in retirement.
You've been listening to Winning in Retirement with your host, Brian Akers of Akers Financial Group. Brian Akers of Akers Financial Group is a registered representative offering securities through Kalos Capital Incorporated and investment advisory services through Kalos Management Incorporated. Akers Financial Group is not an affiliate or subsidiary of Kalos Capital or Kalos Management and does not provide tax and legal services. Advice given on Winning in Retirement is general in nature, and one should seek further advice from their financial advisor, broker, attorney, or tax accountant before investing. Be sure to read each prospectus carefully to understand all the risks associated with each investment.